everyone. Welcome back to the English Learning Podcast, where we help you improve your English speaking skills with fun and useful conversations. I'm your host, Jason, and joining me today is my wonderful co-host, Julia. How are you today, Julia?
Hi, Jason. I'm doing great, and I'm super excited for today's topic because it's something that holds many English learners back, and I'm sure our listeners will find it really helpful.
Absolutely. So, today's episode is titled Talk First, Think Later. Now, this might sound a little strange at first. After all, we're always told to think before we speak, right? But when it comes to learning English, overthinking can actually slow you down and make you less confident.
Exactly. Many learners hesitate because they worry about making mistakes, finding the perfect words, or sounding fluent. But guess what? The best way to sound fluent is to start speaking without fear, even if you make mistakes.
That's right. In this episode, we'll talk about why hesitation is your biggest enemy, why it's okay to make mistakes, and how you can train yourself to speak more freely and naturally in English.
And of course, we'll also share some practical strategies that you can use to speak with confidence, whether you're talking to a friend, in a meeting, or even practicing alone.
So, stick with us for the next 28 minutes, and by the end of this episode, you'll feel more ready than ever to talk first and think later. Let's get started. All right, so let's start with a big problem that almost every English learner faces: the fear of making mistakes. Julia, have you ever met someone who knows a lot of English but is too afraid to speak?
Oh, all the time. I once had a friend who studied English for years. She understood grammar, had a great vocabulary, and even listened to English podcasts daily. But when it was time to speak, she would just freeze.
That's such a common issue, and it's usually because people overthink before they speak. They're worried about sounding wrong, making grammar mistakes, or not finding the perfect words.
Exactly. But here's the thing, native speakers make mistakes too. Have you ever noticed how even fluent English speakers say or while thinking? They sometimes forget words, repeat themselves, or correct themselves mid-sentence, and that's completely normal.
That's a great point. Think about young children learning their first language. Do they stop speaking because they're afraid of mistakes?
No way, they just talk. Even if they mix words or say things incorrectly, they keep going, and that's how they get better. But adults, we judge ourselves too much.
Right. And that fear of judgment makes learners hesitate. They wait until they have the perfect sentence in their mind, but by the time they're ready, the conversation has already moved on.
Yes, and here's the truth. Most people don't care if you make mistakes. What they care about is understanding you. Even if your grammar isn't perfect, if you can communicate your message, you're succeeding.
That's so important to remember. Making mistakes is part of learning. The more mistakes you make, the faster you improve.
Absolutely. So if you're listening to this and you've been holding yourself back because of fear, here's our advice: stop worrying so much about mistakes and just start speaking. The goal is progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And up next, we're going to talk about why talking first helps, and how speaking more, even when you're not 100% sure, can actually make you a better English speaker.
Yes, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
All right, so now that we've talked about the fear of making mistakes, let's discuss why talking first, without overthinking, actually helps you learn faster. Julia, have you ever noticed that people who just start speaking, even if they make mistakes, improve much faster than those who hesitate?
Oh, 100%. I've seen so many learners who just go for it. They don't worry too much about being perfect, and guess what? Their fluency grows much faster.
Exactly. And there's a scientific reason behind this. When you overthink before speaking, you're trying to translate every word in your head. That slows you down. But when you just speak, your brain starts learning how to think in English naturally.
Yes, and this is how we learn our first language as kids. We don't plan every sentence before we speak. We just say what comes to mind, and over time, we improve.
That's a great comparison. And another thing, fluency isn't about perfect grammar. It's about speed and confidence. The more you practice speaking freely, the easier it gets to form sentences quickly without hesitation.
Exactly. Think about it like playing a sport. If you're learning basketball, do you wait until you have the perfect shot every time?
Of course not. You just start shooting. And with practice, your accuracy gets better. Speaking English is the same. You don't need to get every sentence right. You just need to keep talking. And over time, your brain will adjust.
Yes, and here's the best part. When you talk first, your mistakes become learning moments. Instead of staying silent, you get feedback, and you naturally correct yourself.
Right. The more you speak, the more you hear yourself, and the faster you recognize what sounds natural and what doesn't.
That's so true. So, for our listeners, if you want to speak English fluently, don't wait for the perfect moment. Just start speaking. The more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Exactly. And up next, we're going to share some practical strategies to help you train yourself to speak first and think later. So stay with us.
You won't want to miss this next part.
Welcome back. So, now that we know why talking first helps, let's get into some practical strategies that can help you train yourself to speak without hesitation. Julia, what's the first tip you would give to our listeners?
Great question. My first tip is think in English. Many learners try to translate from their native language before they speak, and that slows them down. Instead, try to describe things around you in English, just in your head. For example, if you see a tree, instead of thinking the word in your native language and then translating, just say, "That's a big tree with green leaves."
That's a great tip. And you don't even need a conversation partner for this. You can practice anywhere, on a walk, at home, or while waiting for the bus.
Exactly. And that brings me to the second tip, use simple words. Many learners hesitate because they're searching for the perfect advanced word. But fluency isn't about using fancy words. It's about communicating your idea clearly.
Yes, instead of stopping to think of a complicated word, use a simpler way to say the same thing. For example, if you don't know the word exhausted, you can just say very tired. The goal is to keep speaking.
That's right. And here's another tip. Use filler words and phrases. Even native speakers do this. If you need a moment to think, use words like, "well, you know," or "let me think," instead of staying silent.
Oh, that's a great one. Filler words make your speech sound more natural, and they give you time to organize your thoughts without stopping the conversation.
Yes. And now, my favorite tip, practice speaking out loud even when you're alone. Many people only practice in their heads, but speaking out loud helps train your mouth and brain to work together.
I love that. You can talk to yourself in the mirror, narrate what you're doing, or even pretend you're explaining something to a friend. The more you do it, the easier speaking will become.
Exactly. And one last strategy, record yourself. Many learners don't realize what they sound like until they listen to themselves. When you record your speech, you can notice your weak points and improve them.
Yes, And don't be too hard on yourself. Just focus on improving little by little. Every time you speak, you're getting better.
Absolutely. So, to summarize Think in English, use simple words, add fillers, practice out loud, and record yourself. These strategies will help you speak first and think later, without fear.
And up next, we'll talk about how to stay confident and keep going even when you feel stuck. So, don't go anywhere.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Now, let's talk about something really important: mental barriers that stop people from speaking freely. Julia, what do you think is the biggest mental block for English learners?
Oh, I'd say it's self-doubt. Many learners think, my English isn't good enough, or people will laugh at me if I make a mistake. But the truth is, nobody is judging you as much as you think.
That's so true. Most people are just happy that you're trying to communicate. In fact, native speakers respect people who try to speak their language.
Exactly. And another big mental barrier is fear of embarrassment. People worry that they'll say something wrong and look foolish. But honestly, have you ever laughed at someone just because they made a mistake in another language?
Never. I always admire people who try to speak a second language. And here's the thing: mistakes are how you learn. Every mistake helps you get better.
Yes. And another mental barrier is perfectionism. Some learners won't speak unless they're 100% sure their sentence is correct. But that slows them down.
Right. Fluency comes from practice, not perfection. If you wait for the perfect sentence, you'll never speak. Instead, focus on getting your idea across, even if it's not perfect.
Exactly. So how do we break these mental barriers? The first step is changing your mindset. Instead of thinking, I might say something wrong, think, every time I speak, I improve.
I love that. And another tip: set small speaking goals. Instead of saying, I want to be fluent, say, today, I will speak for 5 minutes without stopping. Small wins build confidence.
Yes. And lastly, surround yourself with positive people. If you're around supportive friends, teachers, or language partners, you'll feel more comfortable taking risks in speaking.
That's a great point. So remember, stop worrying about mistakes, focus on progress, and practice every day. The more you do it, the easier it gets.
Absolutely. And up next, we'll talk about some fun and creative ways to practice speaking daily, so don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we've covered a lot today: why talking first helps, how to overcome fear, and some great strategies to practice. But now, let's put it all together into a simple action plan that our listeners can start using right away.
Yes, because learning is great, but taking action is what really makes a difference. So let's break it down into 3 simple steps.
Step 1. Start speaking every day, even for just a few minutes. You can talk to yourself, describe what you see, or even record your voice. The key is to speak out loud. Don't just think in English.
Great. Step 2. Join conversations whenever possible. If you have a chance to speak English with friends, in an online group, or even with strangers, take it. Don't wait for the perfect moment, just jump in.
Exactly. And step 3, track your progress. At the end of the day, ask yourself, did I speak in English today? What did I learn? Even small improvements matter.
I love that. And a bonus tip, be kind to yourself. Learning a language takes time. The most important thing is to keep going and enjoy the process.
Yes. So, to all our listeners, your challenge today is to speak English for at least 5 minutes, no matter what. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just start talking.
And remember, the more you speak, the more confident you'll become. So talk first, think later, and keep practicing.
That's a great way to end today's episode. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now, and happy speaking.
Wow, what a great conversation today. We've covered so much from overcoming the fear of mistakes to practical strategies for speaking first and thinking later.
Yes, and remember, fluency doesn't come from waiting until you're perfect. It comes from taking action and practicing every day.
Exactly. So, if there's one thing you take away from this episode, it's this: just start talking. Every time you speak, you're getting better.
That's right. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend who's also learning English.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye for now and keep speaking.